This is a little bit close for comfort. You can clearly see my mustache there that I have not gotten rid of. But that's okay, we're just gonna accept it. The truckers, my heroes, my saviors, thank you. Thank you for taking a stand for this godforsaken country that has just gone completely insane. At this point in time, like, are just the decisions that are being made, they're just not making sense. So what happened was on January 15th, the government of Canada issued a mandate for truck drivers who drive across the border to the States. If they were not vaccinated, they would have to quarantine for 2 weeks upon arriving back in Canada. They claim that 90% of these truckers are already fully vaccinated. So it's like, even though they're like traveling by themselves in their trucks, the Omicron variant, and how it seems that just as many vaccinated people seem to be catching it, but apparently getting that thing still stopping the spread, according to our public health according to our public health officials and Prime Minister Trudeau. They'll still close things down. The gyms are back open again, but they were closed here in my province and elsewhere across Canada as well. Even though they have only been letting fully vaccinated people participate since September of last year, they still locked her down because of the Omicron. So clearly you can catch it even though you're fully vaccinated. Anyways, where were we? So they made this mandate and a group of these truckers were just like, we gotta do something about this. And thus spurred this movement, this idea to have a protest where these truck drivers who didn't agree with the mandates would begin a convoy to Ottawa. They do a slow roll convoy. Their mission statement is actually, it's not just having to do with the truckers themselves. This is for all Canadians. I will read their mission statement here. This is from the GoFundMe page. To our fellow Canadians, the time for political overreach is over. Our current government is implementing rules and mandates that are destroying the foundation of our businesses, industries, and livelihoods. Canadians have been integral to the fabric of humanity in many ways that have shaped the planet. We are a peaceful country that has helped protect nations across the globe from tyrannical governments who oppress their people, and now it seems it is happening here. We are taking our fight to the doorsteps of our federal government and demanding that they seize all mandates against its people. Small businesses are being destroyed, homes are being destroyed, and people are being mistreated and denied fundamental necessities to survive. It's our duty as Canadians to put an end to these mandates. It is imperative that this happens because if we don't, our country will no longer be the country we have come to love. We are doing this for our future generations and to regain our lives back. So the aim of this movement is, it's not anti-vaccine, it's pro-choice. So here in Canada, this vaccine passport mandate has been rolled out. Each province sort of did it at their own time, but like every province has it now. For where I am in BC, it started in September. And so it first started with, if you weren't vaccinated, you can't go to restaurants, you couldn't go to gyms, you couldn't go to weddings, I think funerals, sport, like just about any indoor activity besides like shopping and I guess going to medical appointments and all that. Although my partner went to the walk-in the other day here and they were asking for his passport, seemed like to let people in there. They started creating mandates for jobs. So of course, like it started first with like healthcare workers, but it's expanded to several other occupations. And I have friends that work at companies where like the government didn't even mandate it and the company itself is just mandating it. So when people do say like, oh, it is a choice, if you're fired from your job because you don't want to get the vaccine, it is becoming extremely difficult to find work where you don't need it. What some places are doing, workers that are already working there, they don't make them get it, but upon new hires, they're requiring that you be vaccinated. On top of those measures for the unvaccinated, I forgot to mention the personal gathering measures. Basically, they have ordered everyone who's unvaccinated since September, since the vaccine passport went in place, I believe is when this started. They're claiming you are forbidden from having anyone over to your house if you are unvaccinated, and you can't go to anyone else's house. Like, you're just on this permanent lockdown. And there's still restrictions for vaccinated people as well. I guess everyone, I just saw this, it's always changing. I didn't even know this. right now, all indoor organized gatherings of any size are not allowed. So that's wedding, funerals. For vaccinated people, you can have 10 visitors or one other household in your house. But everyone 12 plus must be vaccinated. So yeah, it's just these measures have created such a cultural division. Like, you're literally just basically kind of treated as a second-class citizen if you personally chose not to get the jab. It was really silly. In the food court in the mall here in town, they sectioned off the seating area of the food court, so you could like be standing like outside the little sectioned off area, like ordering food, but as soon as you wanted to sit down and eat, you had to have a vaccine passport. So that was interesting. Recently, that is gone. You used to be able to go to coffee shops, so you couldn't sit in like Starbucks, like you couldn't sit in any fast food place, but then they just like they stopped everyone from being able to sit in there. Like, they blocked it all off too, and like it just keeps changing, and it doesn't seem to really necessarily follow the science, because like with Omicron, it was kind of supposed to be more mild, yet they were sort of like going more into like full lockdown mode again. Yeah, I'm just a bit confused.
Don't have the vaccine? You can't sit alone in a field with a mask on.
So this has been going on for quite a few months, and they just announced the other day in BC they're going to be extending it until June 30th. No surprise here. I was not expecting them to back down. My personal opinion about having a vaccine mandate is this is not the virus to have it for. The survival rate is way too high. It's a new thing. There's no long-term studies yet. So this convoy is about the mandates. This convoy is pro-choice, pro-freedom. Truck drivers from all over Canada have been traveling to the capital, to Ottawa, to situate themselves outside of the Parliament at Parliament Hill there to basically make a statement. And I think they have a lot of power because, you know, these truck drivers are what supply us with food and resources and stuff like that. And there seems to be a lot of them, thousands. There's different estimates. The general estimate seems to be about like 50,000. They have been traveling now this past week, and they are now all supposed to be having like arrived by basically tomorrow. So what has happened though is the mainstream media, they have really gone on a smear campaign trying to portray this thing as something it's not. They're trying to portray it as some extremist, like far right-wing white nationalist thing.
What do you think of the extreme element kind of latch onto the truck convoy you supported?
Well, you know what I think is interesting? When there's a left-wing protest on Parliament Hill, we don't see the Liberal media going through every single name of the people who attends to try and find one person that they can disparage the whole group with.
It's important to underline that close to 90% of truckers in this country are vaccinated.
It has nothing to do with being vaccinated or not. It's about the choice if you want to have it or not. It's not an anti-vax movement. It's anti-mandate and pro-unified society once again, because the division and the culture here is just getting to be insane. It doesn't help when our own prime minister starts calling the unvaccinated misogynists and racist.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to reimagine economic systems, unacceptable views.
This is a peaceful protest. This is about our fundamental rights and freedoms. I just think something needed to be done, and there's only so much you can do just standing on street corners holding signs, which is what I had been doing. Like, we don't have any ability to shift things just based on that, like, alone. Like, some action needs to be taken. Peaceful protest, that is what is being preached. This is a peaceful protest. That's the way to do it. That's always the way to go. That's how it's done. I just think these truckers are so brave for doing this, taking this stand and supporting all of us, because I thought, okay, it's just about they personally want to keep their jobs and it's about their own mandate, but it's a more widespread general thing. And so I'm just so thankful. It really reminds me of the farmers' protest in India, which they camped out at the border, at the Delhi border there. The government eventually backed down. They initially didn't for a while, so who knows? This could be more of a long-term thing, but I just don't see it being, because like we need things supplied. The mainstream in Trudeau is kind of saying that this is not going to disrupt the supply chain at all because it's such a small amount of people. But then on that same note, if it's such a small amount of people, what difference is it going to make if they get vaccinated? Like, what power is that going to have if it's just such a small amount of people, right? So there's a lot of hypocrisy going on, a lot of contradictions, a lot of not making sense. It's exposing the tyranny, the tyranny that is going on.
The way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated. The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country.